that when we were much younger, one of the delights was the great cinema produced by India. And you know, in other neighboring countries like Pakistan as it was, and later Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the film industry never got going. But India produced high quality cinema. And in Satyajit Ray, we had a genius. And we had the film school at Pune where serious film was taught, where produced really good actors and actresses and producers and filmmakers. And that tradition seems to have disappeared.
Of course, you know what, Satyajit Ray was a league of its own. You know, there was that, and then of course there's the mainstream Bollywood film, which, I mean, it's interesting that, you know, there are few cinema industries in the world that could kind of rival Hollywood, but it has maintained its own traditions in some ways, and its own appeal, its own music, you know. I think that's a good thing, and of course there have been terrible films, but there are interesting films being made even today in the mainstream also. Some
in
films.
The mainstream, but not in the so-called art house.
Well, the art house, yeah. I mean, what's happened is that the art house has become more commercial in some ways, but the art house also had its problems. I just recently watched this old, you know, the 70s, they had the whole Amitabh Bachchan. I mean, I'm not a fan, but I'm just saying that in the 70s you had this angry young Amitabh Bachchan film. So I recently watched this film called Coolie, and I was amazed, you know, that you have Amitabh Bachchan was a coolie in the railway station, Muslim, union leader, right? And he goes to confront the railway minister or something, you know, and he's always talking about the rights of workers and the dignity of workers and the humiliation, and, you know, he's fighting, of course, in a, you know, filmy way, but whatever. He goes to the railway minister's house with his, you know, his comrades, and then they have a physical fight. And incredibly, the weapon of the wicked railway minister is a trishul, you know, the trident of the symbol of the Hindu right now. And Amitabh Bachchan, the union leader, fights him with a hammer and sickle. But it's funny, but poignant. I mean, the main thing about his character was not his Muslimness, you know. It was, I mean, today the Muslim character either has to be a terrorist or a nationalist who usually dies.
Stereotypes.
In the, well, the stereotype has evolved into something so sad and dangerous, you know. There's no place for in the imagination for that person. It's all about winners. It's all about biceps and strut and winners, you know. And even when you see the poor, there's a kind of pornographical depiction, you know. There's a sort of you know, voyeuristic thing that happens, and I think that you know, is something. It also has to do with the fact that cinema halls, the old cinema halls, have been broken, and now you have these little very posh multiplexes with their very expensive tickets. A poorer person can't enter the gates of a cinema, you know. I mean, of a mall, they can't go in. It's not in the law, but they will not be allowed in, you know. They would feel terrible even if they were in there, like it's a little fashion parade there, right?
I remember once actually going to a late show in Hyderabad many years ago, where they were showing Ankur, Mrinal Sen's film with Shabana Azmi.
Shyam Benegal's film.
Yeah. And packed out, you know, every single social class was there. And it was a fantastic, just being there and watching a cinema with a mass of people and hearing their reactions, because they commented, they said who they were sympathizing with.
One of the great films was re-digitized and released, no, Garam Hawa or
Ah,
Partition, last
yes,
week. I just missed it. But
yes.
you know, I mean, of course, being from the south, I have to tell you that Hindi film is not the only film in
No, I
India.
know.
And you go to a place like Kerala, very interesting film being made. Very, very interesting. I mean,
In Malayalam.
yeah, small, low budget, but dealing with so many real issues, you know. And even in Hindi movies, like for example, there was a big hit film released last year sometime, a film called Queen.
Oh, I
It
didn't
was
know
about
about
this
it.
young girl who, you know, from some small, like traditional colony in Delhi, and she's supposed to be getting married, and last minute her husband fiance comes and says, I'm not marrying you, you know, because he's in London now and she's not cool enough for him. She gets very upset, and then she says, I don't care, but I'm going on my honeymoon by myself, right? And she goes off on his honeymoon all over wherever Europe, and comes back, and there's something very delightful about, you know, it doesn't end up with her getting married
To
and
someone else. But the bulk of them, which are coming, and I've seen some of them, and they're so memorable that I can't even remember their names,
yeah,
is that it's trying to mimic
yeah, yeah,
Hollywood films of one
yeah,
sort. So
yeah,
they become the Bollywood cinema, which, as you said, used to be reflect something real,
yes,
however, you
yeah,
know, in a crazy,
yeah,
surreal
yeah,
fashion.
yeah,
And the songs were good; they
yeah,
were written by
yeah,
good poets. But now it's become very globalized. It's
yeah.
sort of set
It's
in Delhi,
most
or
of
in
most
Mumbai, London, New
yeah.
York, just shown.
That's the kind of you know, it reflects what I always say is the most successful secessionist movement in India has been the secession of the middle and upper classes into outer space,
Yeah.
you know, and that cinema, that's the cineplex type of cinema. But on the other hand, there's other stuff going on. For example, there's a wonderful experiment called the Gorakhpur Film Festival. It's just a festival of documentary films, unfunded, unknown, but it's just expanded into this incredible thing where this festival goes from small town, full of people showing these documentary films made on almost nothing, fierce political debates, Tariq, of the level that I have not found anywhere else in the world, let me tell you, in the world. You know,
Where is this?
it moves from place to place. Gorakhpur is the name of a little town in UP. It's called the Gorakhpur Festival.
But it goes
But it
everywhere.
goes everywhere to small town,
Fantastic.
and people are so on the ball about cinema, about politics, about what's going on, about NGOs, about, you know, everything, and about you know, just the minutiae of what's happening on the ground. It's such a beautiful thing. I mean, if you if a young person were to ask me what shall I do, I would say just go and see some of those films and you'll get it.
Arundhati, talking about Kerala, I remember seeing ages ago Adur Gopalkrishnan's films, and some of them I liked a lot. They were very sharp, actually, depicting life which you didn't see in any other movies,
Yeah.
especially in the South. What happened to him?
He's just
He's still
old.
around? He's very
He's
old.
old, yeah. Yeah,
It's good
there
to
are
hear.
things going on. Sometimes they're such small things, you know, they are not, they're like little sparks that just, they're not carried because they're not funded, they have no publicity and all of that. You know, I'm accused of being anti-national and all of that, which I don't mind, but I actually feel very close to the wisdom and understanding of so much that is going on there in terms of resistance and real deep understanding, which sometimes when I am in other places, I feel like I'm in nursery school, you know, because people, they know the score so well. I mean, doing something about it in the face of that kind of repression, those kinds of laws, that threat of imprisonment and physical violence. And now, of course, all this kind of censorship has been outsourced to the mob, you know.
how do you feel about Hollywood?
Well, I mean,
The Hurt Locker, and I mean the
oh, the
propaganda
Hurt
stuff
Locker.
which is
Yeah.
coming out is quite.
It just surprises me when people get overly upset with what else do you expect?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have chosen for the most part which side they are on. They have the money, they have the power, and they do it. They do what they have to do, you know. Like, why should we burden them with our politics, you know,
But
inside?
just coming back to Bollywood for a minute, the songs that one used to hear in the old Bollywood films had a real quality to them and reflected society. I mean, I was just thinking as we were talking, there was a famous one which was sung everywhere. I'm trying to remember who sang it now, but it was a sort of non-alignment song. मेरा जूता है जापानी मेरी पैंट हिंदुस्तानी सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी
फिर
तब भी
भी
दिल
दिल
है
है
हिंदुस्तानी.
हिंदुस्तानी. Yeah.
Which you translate, my shoes are from Japan, my trousers are English, I'm wearing a red Russian hat, but my heart is still Indian. And it was just sung very well and very
Yeah.
popular. And there were many others
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
written by, quite often written by left-wing poets making
Yeah,
money.
beautiful.
But, yeah,
But
that seems to have
yeah.
gone.
The music, yeah, it has become very, I don't know, loud, and the heart has gone out
The
of it.
heart has gone
right?
out of it.
दिल है हिंदुस्तानी अब वो नहीं रहा.
वो नहीं रहा. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, thank you for talking about Indian cinema.